this. Let's have some fun. All right. Hey, thanks everyone for coming out. It's Friday afternoon. It's really tough. We're at the end of the conference, winding down. But let's sort of have some fun at the end of the day. There's not a lot of us here, so that's kind of interesting that I may ask you some specific questions during this, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit. First, my name is Dean. Hello. I am principal and owner of a company called TrueMatter. We're a UX company located in the United States, and I basically work on complex software all day, every day with dev teams. So it's a real honor to talk at NDC conference, particularly with a bunch of smart developers. Fantastic, and I love it. You're my people. Now, I am a very even-keeled guy. Isn't that right, Penny? I'm even-keeled. I'm calm. I'm a normal person. I'm quiet. I don't get upset at anything. Nothing bugs me. But I'm also known for being a monster in my office. I'm the guy who, if you're hearing bicker-backer in the back of the room and you're hearing some words that your mom might not want you to hear, they're coming from me because I'm having some kind of problem dealing with software or an app or a site that's got my blood up. I feel it even now, just talking to you. And since this is a .NET conference, we're going right to the source. Now, I have some responsibilities in the office of reviewing a bunch of stuff that my content team writes. All right, this is my job. And they send me a link. Very easy, right? It's awesome. They send me a wonderful link. I see this writing, and I'm just going to work on it. So far, so good. I'm getting it done. They're happy. I'm happy. I can even use this in my browser, or use an open Word from this. So cool. But then I get to thinking, what I really need to do is get on the program here and make sure that I'm reviewing all the articles they have, because they have a lot of articles they need me to review, and I'm always perpetually behind. So maybe I'm thinking I'm going to catch up. And so the first time I did this process way back, they sent me the article. I was like, okay, good. I did all my changes. And I said, now let me look for the other articles. And I looked here and I said, how would I do that? How would I get to the other articles? I don't know. So I start clicking around. Okay, this is what we do when we don't know where something is. Everyone does. So, I'm looking around. I know this isn't going to work. I know it isn't going to work. I'm still clicking it. I click it. Of course, it goes nowhere. This is word home. This isn't helping me. I'm going back. And I see this lovely little thing called navigation pane, which gets me pretty excited, right? It's the navigation pane. I'm going to find what I want. No, I won't. I'm just going to find what's in the document. It's called navigation. It doesn't mean navigation. And I'm a little, I'm getting a little upset. It's taking my time, but now I'm thinking I've got to figure it out, and I'm getting upset. I click on the file name. Surely in other apps I use, including Microsoft, that kind of works sometimes. Sometimes. In this case, no. I can rename it. Now I need to figure this out. I'm upset. Can't find anything. I actually clicked the app switcher thinking somehow that would work. Of course, I knew it wouldn't. So I'm just angry at myself for opening it. Yeah, I tried help, but I didn't actually click anything because, as we all know, help is never actually helpful. It's often just another way to be upset. All right? So I didn't click any of these help things, knowing it wouldn't help me. And I just start clicking around. I click through all this stuff, getting angrier and angrier every single one I looked at. And I finally clicked on the one thing I hadn't clicked on yet, is the little cloud icon. And I say, oh, wait. Click the cloud icon to view the file location, which is what I've been looking for this whole time. So I go ahead and click, and wow! Content strategy, articles, I'm in. I'm very excited. I don't know why this icon should be understood as that. Someone had the bright idea to do that. Didn't make sense to me. Of course, now I know it. It's easy now. Of course, then I'm dumped into SharePoint, which is a whole bunch of other problems we can do a class on. Skip that. came back, looked again, and said, they also hid it in the file menu, which I went through and didn't see the first time. It's actually, you can't see it here, but it's kind of like green, which is like, hey, this is good, right? And auto-save to articles. I could have found that. I didn't find it. And I think they just stuck it under a file here for no good reason other than that people go there when they're in trouble. And I still missed it. So I'm completely upset at this. And things like this drive me crazy. All right, and I get extremely angry when it takes me so long to do something that should have been so easy. So let me give you another example. I'm from the United States. We pay taxes. It's great. I'm a digital person, so I'm going to do them online, right? Of course I am. So I go ahead, and I go to the IRS, and I have to verify my identity. That's fair, although someone else paying my taxes would be fine, you know. But I got to verify my identity, and it says, and I want you to remember this, okay? It's going to take 5 to 10 minutes. Now, when someone tells you online something's going to take 5 to 10 minutes, how long would you expect it to actually take? Keep those answers in mind, okay? I choose to do it. I'd go to self-service, and I'd go through the whole thing. I'm setting up my account. They're giving you a PIN number. You've got authentication. It's all great. I know what I'm doing because I'm this great digital person. I get it all done. Boom! And this is the screen I get to. Activation needed. Your profile isn't active yet. We have to send you an activation code by U.S. mail. By U.S. mail. Yes, that's true. You can see it in the fine print. U.S. mail. It's going to arrive, should arrive in 5 to 10 days. So whatever minutes you guys just suggested for me, you're off by a factor of magnitude. This letter should arrive in 5 to 10 days. How do you think I received that? With joy? With happiness? No. I think 5 to 10 business days, that could be 2 weeks. And then they have another note that says, hey, if you don't receive the letter within 15 days, you know what they're going to do? They're going to send another one. And that's going to take 5 to 10 days. If you didn't read all the fine print in the note that said if you don't activate this by a certain time, it's gone, you can request another one, which will take 5 to 7 days. Am I happy? Is this digital experience combined with analog experience wonderful? No, it's not. And I am enraged when I deal with this. When I saw that and I got the letter and I went to go, oh yeah, I forgot, I got to go do that thing. And I read the letter and it was late. It was late and I had to wait. This took me, I don't know, a month and a half to do. Future Scholar Plan in the United States, this is where we can put some money away for our kids, for college. It's great, it's awesome. So I went and did that. Did a little transaction, put some money aside, and I got an error message. This is how not to write an error message, okay? And it says, you got to go back. You did something wrong. But don't click the back key. Don't do that, okay? Please, right? Invalidate, and if this doesn't work, you need assistance, you're going to have to call, and you're going to have to tell them that. This is real. Now, you and I know kind of sort of what that is, what they're getting at, but no real person knows this. There's only anger. I just wanted to do a transaction. It is normal stuff, and I can't do it. All right. Now, for some reason, I can't remember at the time. I wanted to actually call Amazon. At the time, it made sense to me. Okay, I can't remember the specific reason, but I remember trying to do it, and it was really hard. So then I went back, and I documented what it took to get there. For all you know, Denny, it was perfect. It was easy. No, it's not. Okay. So I'm looking for contact. The word contact, that's all I really want, right? That's an easy word. We should know that it should work. It's nowhere, so I'm going to go into my account, right? I'm going to go there and think, maybe it's in there. It is not. Okay, of course it's not. I know. It's at the bottom of the page, right? That's where we put this stuff. It's a reasonable assumption. It's not down there, okay? But there is this little thing called help, and you know how I feel about that. I'm going to click help, and it will not be helpful, okay, no matter what I do. I click it, and indeed, it is not helpful. I just have to read a bunch of stuff. Maybe I can search. I can browse help topics. That's exciting. And all the way down at the bottom of browsing help topics, it says, need more help? Yes, that's the closest thing I have to contact. I do need more help. I click it, and then I get a list of stuff, and look, I found a contact us. All right, I'm on it. I'm good. I'm upset, but now I've got it. I click it, and dang it, I got to log in and find my credentials, and that gets me upset because I have to go find them. I do. I'm in, and this is what I get. It's a page where they just sort of want to say, I know you want to contact us, but let us tell you about all that other stuff you already bypassed again. And you have to go through all this. I can't find contact anywhere, but I do find a word that says prime or something else. I am looking for something else. So I click it. That gets me down to step number 2, and I have to select an issue. How are we doing so far? Are we happy? You think, okay. Because I'm swearing up a storm, and I'm gonna be good. I won't do that from stage here, which is admittedly difficult. Okay, and I look down the first list, and it says no contact. Okay, but it says more non-order questions. I have a non-order question. I click it. All that does is get me to the next drop-down, which says other non-order questions. And now I'm intent. I'm going to get there. Come hell or high water. I click it, and I finally get down to level 3. I'm down to level 3. And I see the word phone, which is close as I got. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You think it's going to work? You think it's going to work? It's not going to work. Because all I get is a form whereby I can put something in and they can call me, which I don't want, okay? Because that's just like asking for an interruption later. So I don't do this. I abandon it. Screw it. I can't figure it out. And then later when I went back and documented all this, doggone it, I was really upset, and I found general help number link, which I never clicked. Who knows what I would have found there? Okay, one more. You remember this? You remember when we used to buy music? Long time ago in the before time, and we had to have like family sharing, which I guess you could do now with iCloud, but it was really hard with iTunes. And if you did something wrong, you'd get some sort of crazy dialogue box telling you what is wrong. Like this. I try to join family sharing, and I can only do it twice a year. I'm done. I got to wait. Thought 5 to 10 days was tough? I got to wait a better part of a year to get a song that I already own because my wife is in a family plan, right? And I'm married to her. And she bought the music, but I can't have it for another 242 days. Or if I want to start family sharing, right, I'm already using it. I have to ask Angela, okay, to give me an invite, which that's kind of like Apple kind of butting in a little bit, right? It's like my relationship. You don't get to tell me how I've got to communicate. Then, Apple's going a little bit further. I can't join a family. I got to leave a family first, which is really, borderline counseling at this point from Apple. It's hard to know what it means. And then this is the error, the message that my wife gets. And I really don't want Apple encouraging her in any way, shape, or form to do something like this. She doesn't need to be hearing this from anyone, let alone Apple. I just made that one up. Okay, that's not real, but the others were real. Okay, so these sorts of things get me angry. Angry all the time, all right? And maybe it's my problem. Maybe I'm just an angry person, okay? And I'm dealing with these interfaces all the time. Maybe. But anger is pretty common. Chances are, if you want to hear this talk, you feel that a little bit, right? Most sites, apps, and software are hard to use. Straight up, hard to use, okay? These are some sites that I have either tested myself or evaluated myself or have had to use, and I assure you they're all horribly hard to use and terribly common. Lots of stuff is like this, even today. Many of these things are in progress, in use today. And it gets people angry, not just me. Not just me. All right? If you're even half like me. There's a study we're going to look at in a minute. And this was one of the conclusions from the study. That someone was so upset at being frustrated online all the time that they punched a hole through the wall. Or they punched the wall. Which means they're risking breaking their hand over the frustration they feel using digital products. It's very real. We're going to get into that study in a minute. All right? This is heard in the office, and now I can't live it down. I got so upset one day, I just screamed this out, and they basically will never let me forget it. Okay, very typical experience, all right? Let me just go to Getty Images and search angry user. Oh, man. I mean, it's not that hard to find all this stuff, and if Getty is showing you all this very realistic stuff, mind you, it must be something. It's a cliche. That's totally me, right? It's a cliche for a reason. This is just one search, and it just went on and on and on and on, which means people definitely resonate to this. Keep in mind, these are the people that use the stuff we make, okay? Full story, there's this company, they do like behavioral tracking and analytics for sites. To give you an idea, they started doing rage grades for sites. All right, this is real, okay? They would do rage grades. You just got a C- on a rage grade because you were just 35th percentile. You're terrible at this. And I love the marketing. It only gets better. No, it can get so much worse. So much worse than a C-. Okay, this is my mom. Yay! My mom's smart. Okay, she does corporate taxes back in America. It's a serious thing. She is on top of it. But these things get her frustrated. All of these things. She has trouble with every single one of these things, no matter how smart she is. All this stuff, that's all about getting into something. That's access, that's login, that's sign up, that's staying logged in, understanding where you are. All of it, all of it. It gets her frustrated. She doesn't exactly do this, right? Because she's more even-keeled than me, but sometimes I wish she would just throw the computer because then I would feel justified in how angry I am for her, that is terrible for her. Okay. I gotta lower the blood pressure for a second. Let's dive in a little bit because it's enough to know, like, this is real, okay? We know it's real, but let's get some numbers around it. Let's get some data around it so that we understand when we want to talk to other people about it, we can productively. All right? Most frequent causes for Dean getting upset, read everyone getting upset. There they are. Okay? Not in any particular order. These things make people angry. And notice, people are not talking about things like, this module you made was confusing to go back and do, or I really didn't feel the error message adequately. No, they're like, it's broken, it's slow, it's confusing, it doesn't help me. It's all about how I relate to technology. No one cares about the details of what we make, but they care about how they interact with it. They really care, and they are really bugged by this. And it's a problem in different circumstances. Like when we're in a rush, when we're stressed, we're more likely to get angry faster, right? Okay? Now, when was the last time you worked on something and weren't in a hurry, weren't stressed, weren't working on a deadline, weren't doing something undesirable? That's us, okay? We are like this a lot. And so anger can get to us quickly, and you'll see later it's going to affect everything we do. All right, let's get into some of the research. This is really fun stuff, okay? Because sometimes scientists, they uncover data about things that we already know about, but it gives us data, and that's really important. So this is a study that I really want you to read. So I'm going to linger on this screen for a minute, okay? This is a study about a year and a half ago. Frustration, Still a Common User Experience by Hertzman and Hornbeck. This is the link. It's a really, really great study about user frustration. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, but you've got to go see this. It's awesome. Definitely give you the chance to look at this.
This link angers me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't. Yeah. I mean, that's horrendous. there's the study. I am going to synthesize it a little bit for you. Before we get in, there's this quote that they quoted in the study. They quoted this guy from 1980. And this is depressing, okay? It's possible for us to get every last thing right. And I mean beautiful requirements, wonderfully functional, fits spec, passes QA with flying colors, get a gold star, and everyone hates it. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that great to know? It's true. Now let's look at the study. So they did this thing called a diary study, which is really interesting. They got like 200 plus users to basically agree that during the day, whenever they're doing stuff with an app, site, software, whatever, they're on their computer, if they experience frustration, they're just going to say, I experienced frustration. It probably lasted about this long, and this was why. And they just, every time they did that, they wrote it down. This is over a period of time. Okay? And this is what the Hertzman and Horbeck study found, right? People had experiences of frustration per hour, on average, okay, of 6.6 minutes. Not, yeah, that's a lot, okay? It sounds like 6 minutes, maybe that's not a lot. That's a real lot. Let's say there was an average about 7.9 hours per day that they were tracking. I don't know about you, but that's like 8 hours a day online. I'm online way more than that. I mean, I got problems, okay? You know, I'm probably 12 plus a day. That's 52 minutes a day of being upset. Boy, that's a lot. I mean, that's like high blood pressure, life shortening a lot, okay? And I'm thinking of us as well as our users. What caused the most problems? Usability issues, system problems. That means it's broken or it's hard to use. Okay, those are the big things. That's a solid 74%. Okay, it's slow, it's broken, can't find anything. That's a lot. All right, so we know why people are doing it. These are all the problems categorized and ranked, okay? So let's go from left to right, top to bottom. System is slow, number one. It's always number one. In my entire career, I've been doing this forever. That's the chief complaint of users all the time. So much so, we just care about what's number two, because we know what number one is. It's slow. This research proves that. It's all about performance and usability. Okay. 84% of the time, a problem was a repeat problem. So, same problem happening again, and again, and again, and again. Sound great. Sounds like using computers is awesome. 74% of the time, people still completed their task. You might say, then what are we worried about? We're very worried because most of the time, you've got no choice but to complete your task. Paying a parking ticket online, you have to finish. Well, you don't have to, but there'll be consequences, right? Okay, now, we love this study so much, we said, this is a great scientific study. Well, what if we did our own study at True Matter, and all we did was do a user survey, really quick, ad hoc, not scientific, what if we did something in real quick, a few days, what if we compared the results? And if the results hit about the same, we'd say, well, there's really something here data-wise. Right? So we did. We put out our own study, just a simple survey. I think we had 280 users across the United States of America, a good mix of males and females, old and young. It was pretty great. And basically, to make a long story short, most folks were using digital products, sites, apps, software, about, multiple times a day or at least once a day. That's 85% of people at least once a day. They're using stuff a lot. Okay. All right. This is what they like about apps. This is what we found. This is what they like. Easy to use, gets things done, is fast. Very standard. That totally tracks. This is what they hate. What they hate completely tracks with the more scientific Hertzfeld Hornbeck study. Okay? It's too slow, it takes too long, it's hard to use, bugs. People hate it. Hate, 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 hate. Last time they were frustrated, like today or yesterday. If you look at, that's like most people, whoops, let's go there. It pushes 90% if you're just saying this week. That is a huge number. That's a striking, depressing number, but it's true. This is what they try to do. Look at people are left hanging out to dry. They just got to fix it myself. I got to find that cloud icon myself. I'll contact customer support. Oh my God. That's like an entire new world of hellish hate. No one likes doing that. And it gets worse when they try. Or they just quit, maybe tried later. That's terrible. That's awful stuff. Nothing surprised us at True Matter. We've basically known this. Now we've got studies that are showing it and giving data around it. But absolutely nothing surprised us. We see it all the time. Been testing software sites my whole career. Okay, so we got a problem, don't we? This is our default. People are ready to hate what we make. They're already disappointed before they show up. So far, so good. How are we doing? It's a cheerful Friday? Okay, don't worry. There's good news coming. Okay. Like, in the past, they've really been bitten and been upset. So they think it's going to happen again. And of course, it does. They're upset already before a problem even occurs. You ever talk to someone you try to talk to someone who's already upset at you before you start talking? How does that go? Does it go okay? Okay. It doesn't go okay with me and my wife. If she's already upset at me, I'm toast. No choice. We got to do stuff, right? We don't have like a choice. This is what people do online. They have to do it online. There's not like, in many cases, how else are they going to do these things? So you're forced to do things in a digital age. It's more and more. Even my mom, who's like 80 years old, there's things that she can't do analog anymore, right? So a lot of times it's stuff I don't want to do, and I know I'm not going to like it. What about us? Here in the world of work, we're restricted all the time. There's stuff you've got to use even though you don't want to. I mean, do you love using Jira? Does anyone? I mean, no, I don't. Okay. I mean, but we're forced to use all sorts of stuff. Our machines are locked down, everything. All right, and if we don't like something, we got to deal with it. So we feel that too, as users. And of course, people despise help. No one wants to do any of this stuff. They're being in help or help desk is a very hard job because everyone's already mad at you, and they already expect it to be awful, and they're mostly right. Okay. Everyone is ready to be upset all the time. When you make something, you've got to understand that. Okay. And there are consequences to our rage. Certainly consequences to mine. I'm not proud of my reputation in the office. I'm like the Vesuvius of the office. In this study, the Hertz and Hornbeck study, 26, remember I said 74% of the time people got it done anyway? Well, that meant a quarter of the people didn't. Huge number, which they call disturbing, and they're correct, all right? Marked degradation of responses over time. That meant if you're frustrated now, if you get frustrated again, you feel worse about it, then worse about it, then more mad about it, then more mad about it. Of course you do, right? But they have evidence around it. So, like, you try to do something, it doesn't quite work, you get angry, you get impatient, you're in a rush. When you're impatient or you're in a rush, do you make good decisions? All right? I probably didn't find that stuff in Microsoft because I was rushing and angry. I probably would have found it earlier if I just calmed down and looked, even though it's a terrible interface anyway. Right? I rush, I miss stuff. When you're rushing, you miss stuff. That means you fail and you get angry again, and it just goes around and around and around. And this is what they found, which is, I think, the most interesting finding of that study. Right? And then, it's not like, if I can't stand the thing you made, right? And I think maybe your error handling is subpar. No. I think your whole company is horrible. That's how I feel. I don't feel the thing you made is bad. I think you are bad, and the horse you rode in on is bad. Okay? That's how people act. Customers do this stuff when they're upset, which is why competition is so cutthroat, and why companies that really get experience right, they tend to do very well, because this stuff doesn't happen as much. But you probably do all of this stuff. I've done all of this stuff. I'm giving several poisonous words of mouth to several items right now. This is what we do. We rebel, quiet rebellion. We tend to do all these different workarounds. Like every time I go talk to someone we're trying to fix software, I ask them, where is their workaround spreadsheet? Because there's always a workaround spreadsheet. Always, 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 which signifies the software is bad or incomplete or doesn't do everything they want. Okay, let's get some good news in here. First, you can overcome this, and I've got a couple things I'm going to give you. Now, I'm a user experience guy. Does anyone here, do y'all have like access to user experience resources at all in your companies? Anyone? Anyone? A little bit? Okay, all right, that's good. It's usually nowadays about half and half, which is way better than it used to be. Having UX resources in your company, very good, very helpful. It's going to help all the stuff I'm about to talk about. You don't need to have them to make progress, though, okay? So, calming the savage user. How do we do it? Okay, first thing is simple. It's really simple, and it's always changing the way you think is the first thing you should do, just to agree with what we talked about. Just accept it, don't fight it. This is a truth. It's always our stuff that could be better. People are not the problem. They're not. It's us. Whenever you're tempted to say a user is doing something wrong, chances are you've done something wrong. And everything is too hard. This is not easy. This is not too hard to do, right? Is for you to agree with this. We've talked about this. But this is the good stuff. Who is going to fix it but us? Who? Anyone? No one. It's only us who can fix this. Only us. So here's how we do it. Okay, this is about quality, right? You can think of experience, what I do, user experience, as quality. So think about it that way. People understand quality. They don't understand experience because it means everything. It means something different to everyone. But they do understand quality. And you can make things that are beautiful, they're designed well, they're highly functional, they're completely dynamic, data-driven, and users love them. All right, it's an example of one. Users love this. It's been tested rigorously, and it's gotten down to a point where users just say, this is a joy, and I love it. Totally possible. Totally possible. All right. Here are the 2 steps you take to get there. First, we're going to remember what people hate, because we know what people hate, right? Performance, usability. Let's start with performance, all right? Because we can do something about that. People hate bad performance. Remember the things, the 3 of the top 4 they hate? It's too slow. Too slow. Okay. Let's improve. Let's focus on that. We can do that. We don't need a UX person to help us improve performance. We know, if we know that it being too slow is number 1, always number 1. That means whatever you're doing to make responsive applications better is going to massively help people. You don't need one UX person for that. Just make it faster. Is it fast enough? No. That's basically how you should treat everything you make. It should be faster no matter how fast it is. This is not rocket science anymore, right? Fewer bugs means people are less angry. I don't know what else to say. If you did those 2 things alone, you are going to ratchet way up in quality and solve most pressing user anger. That's pretty good right there. Don't need UX people to do that either, right? Improve errors. We talked about those. Now, here's where you're starting to get, it would be great if you had a UX person or a UX writer to write all that stuff. You can make this stuff a lot better, but you don't. You can get by testing your error handling. If you do that, because things go wrong all the time, we can't help that. They're going to go wrong. So how do we deal with people when they go wrong? And if you have amazing, courteous, helpful error handling, boom, people are with you. Remember I talked about access? Most user problems we find in nearly everything we've tested in my entire career is about access to this stuff. It's difficult to get into the stuff and stay into the stuff, right? It's all about login, sign up, finding your password again, all that sort of stuff, that is the hard stuff for people. And a lot of times what we do is we think that because we have patterns for login and whatnot, that we don't think about that stuff. We got a pattern for that, we just do that. Chances are your pattern is not good, okay? It's not great, and you've got to do something different in order to help. You got to examine it more. Okay, this is probably a talk I need to talk to director level folks, right? You know, let us all take a little bit more time to get a lot more quality. Isn't that true? Right? It's true for almost everything I do. You give me a little bit more time, I could ratchet up how good it is. You give me too much time, I'll just use it. But I mean, give me a little bit more. Because everyone, they go to business school, right? And I think they're taught in a class to just tell you to go faster, no matter what you say. And that's the whole class. Tell the developers to go faster, 101. Can you have it by Friday? No. How about Thursday? That's what they learn. Okay, can we do this? We can do this, right? I'm being very modest. Not awful would be a massive improvement, okay? We can do better than that, but we have to start there. Here's how you do it. I'm going to give you 2 ways how to do it, okay? And then at the end, I'm going to give you 1 book to read that will get you started on all this stuff. This stuff works, okay? It is the only stuff I've seen work in my entire career. And I looked very hard. I feel like I have to like, yeah. You got this? Is this good? Okay. All right. This is stuff that I know works because I've seen it work, and I haven't found anything else, to be honest, okay? So it's going to seem a little simple, but trust me, it works. Okay, this is what you're going to do. You're just going to spend time with people. That's it, okay? And there's a way to do it. Okay? We call it user observation. It is a deeply technical thing. You just show up and watch people do stuff. How's that? Not bad? Okay. And that means right with them where they do their stuff every day. I remember doing this with energy traders. Okay? These are people who have like 10 screens up, and they are looking at all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, can we watch what you do every day? They're like, yes, just shut up and stay over there and don't bother me. They're like, oh, I've learned something already, you know. You know, we had to learn that their peripheral vision was very important to them because we saw them doing this all the time. I'm learning stuff every 2 seconds. They were timed to the minute in stuff they had to do with energy trades and various screens. Wow, it was rough. We learned so much in 1 hour. It was phenomenal. And the stuff we learned immediately really drove much of how we designed the thing. This is easy. All right, when? Before you do something. Before you do something, go spend time, watch users. Now, if it's an internal bit of software, yay you, because you know your users. Like, I understand that some people don't have access to users. I get that, and that's another issue, okay? That's when you do it. Why? You just want to know what they do. You want to know what makes them tick. Spend lots of time with them. You ask them simple questions. You're a scientist, so you never offer your opinion. You never explain anything, nothing. It's just, tell me what you're doing right now. Why are you doing that? I noticed you used this Post-it note for something. Why? So, where's your spreadsheet? I don't have one. Yes, you do. Okay, I have one. Here's my spreadsheet. You know, and then you find out all the things that the software isn't doing for them that they just made happen in their spreadsheet. Okay? All this stuff is great. You learn so much. You're going to look for what they hate, all their workarounds, and this is something that anyone can do. You don't have to be a UX person. A project manager could do this. Right? I mean, anyone could do this, and you will learn a ton. And if you make a habit of it and do it all the time, my goodness. Especially if you're on a team of developers, get some developers watching people work. As engineers, all we need to know is what's the problem. I can solve nearly anything. I just need to know it. All right? That's how we know it. Low effort, high value. Awesome. All right? Next thing, this is number 2. User testing. We're going to test the stuff we made. That's it. And I don't mean like QA or user acceptance testing, which is certain rules about it. I'm talking watching people do tasks with the stuff you made. Watch them do real things with your software. That's it. Record it. Interview them about it later. It's best with a live product, but you could user test anything. You could user test a prototype. I have user tested paper prototypes. I mean, just building an interface with paper on the fly and have people test it, and they mess up with it, they leave the room, another user comes in, but in between we fix it. You could test nearly anything. Live is best though, because it's real, right? You need data. You got to know if what you made works right. I'm a user experience professional, and I make stuff that doesn't work right because I didn't know something. And so I'm constantly, I want to be in front of users to know if I did it right. I don't assume I get it right. So you just create a real world task. What are you out to do with this application? You get some users in. You can do this online or offline. If you do it in a place, make it a welcoming place, not a scary place, right? You're a scientist again. You're always a scientist. You're not trying to prove anything to anybody. You're not trying to convince them of anything. You just want to know what they do. It's more important than what they say. Just watch what they do. People are bad at predicting what they'll do. Very bad. Very bad. But what they do is what they do. Okay, this is an example. A user test we did, and we took a picture of it before we started. We had a user sit down, they gave some tasks, we had someone sitting right next to them. Hey, try to do this with this prototype. And they tried the click-through prototype, and we learned how they approached it. Very easy, right? I'm going to give you more detail on this, don't worry. This is an example of online user testing, right? Where we got a picture in a picture, there's our user, we get to see their cursor, this is recorded, so we see their mouse movements and we see their face, so when they're like, we know that they're confused, and we see where they're trying to click. We hear what they say. I'm looking for X, I'm looking for Y, I can't find it. They gotta talk out loud, right? Think out loud, rather. We use Look Back, all right? This is some software that we use. There's all sorts of great software for user testing. An embarrassment of riches. Is something broken? This is what you look for. What mistakes are there? What gets in people's way? This is very, basic stuff. It's scary how basic that is. That's all you want. What gets people upset? You're going to record them. You can interview them afterwards. You can ask them any question you want when they're done. Just make sure when they're working, you don't get in their way. You're not trying to lead the witness. And you discuss results with your team, and you fix it. Right? You don't have to make some crazy, big, silly report. You just find out what's wrong, sit with your developer or designer, and fix it. Often the problems you find in user testing are very simple to fix. They're not always difficult to fix. You just didn't see it before. Sometimes they're hard to fix, right? And sometimes you need to write a report, okay? And we do this because it's usually like some higher-ups or directors have to be convinced to do something right. So we're like, well, here's the data. We're going to come to this meeting about what we should do with the software. We're going to come with data, right? Sometimes you got to convince people. So this is how we do it. You look at a specific scenario. How many users tried it? How many failed? How many succeeded? What happened? This is an individual user. Well, how did they do in all the things they tried? Looks like they passed 4 and failed 1, and most users failed that one. Let's look at that one. Very hard to argue against data. And then we say, well, this is what happened. This is what people struggled with, depending on who the users were, and you start to build a case. Now, often, you don't need to do any of this stuff. You just talk together after the test, and you get in Miro and say, we're going to do this, this, and this, and you get to it. Sometimes you need this. Okay, now, I got a special thing for you in a second that will help you come back to that point about user testing and get more detail on it. So hang on for that. But I just want you to keep in mind the big stuff here, okay? This was in that study that we looked at. Frustration is integral to how people experience all the stuff we make, okay? This is like, we already know this. It's depressing to see data on it, but let's proceed from that point. My point is that you can fix these things. You absolutely can. And it's exciting that you can. And again, who else is going to do it? You can use your current skill set. You do not have to be a UX person. It's awesome if you got those people. I know a few of you said, yeah, maybe, right? Maybe you got some. They'll cotton on to this. If you go to a UX person and say, hey, can we do some user observation on this before we start? They're going to be like, really? You know, it's like giving them oxygen, right? Giving them water in a desert. You don't have to be a pro. It's not magic. None of this stuff is magic. It's just another thing to do that development teams, for some reason, have stopped doing over the past decades. It wasn't always this way, by the way. We can do a history of that. It was dev teams and engineers that invented usability engineering. It's just not taught anymore, and we don't do it. Okay, this is the secret sauce. There's this book I read early on. I just loved it. And so much so that I just give it to everyone who enters our company. I say, first thing you do, you're an intern. Read this. I usually get like 3 or 4 books. This is one of them. All right? That's it. If you want to understand user testing, just read this. It's super easy to read. It's fast. It's going to go into detail about all the stuff that we just talked about for user testing. And then you could talk to the UX people in your life and be like, well, you know, I've looked at this and that model for user testing. And they'll be like, wow, what strange beast are you, a developer who could talk to me on my own terms? That will be awesome, because then you'll gain lots of trust. You'll build that rapport. But you could also do it on your own. Everyone who started this stuff had to start from nowhere. I mean, when I first did user testing, I knew nothing. This is a long time ago. We just wanted to know how people use stuff. So we tried it. I mean, I was doing UX before I even knew what it was. I was just intrigued by how people used things. That's all. And we've really lost that. You could also read all the junk we write. We write some pretty decent stuff on this subject. All right, we are always focused on developers and how developers work and how complex digital products are made. All right, so the talk came from this. So you read stuff like, you know, crazy things like stop doing things people hate. It's like world-beating ideas here, right? Or Digital Spitfire Interface Rage, which spawned this talk. You'll see that there. All right, that's it. That's Digital Spitfire Interface Rage. There is hope beyond all the rage and aggression. You can find me anywhere you want online. And I'm going to hang out a little bit. I answer some questions, but you can also just find me and we'll talk about it, right? Okay, that's part of NDC culture, is you could have access to speakers, and you need to know that that's a good thing that extends beyond the conference. Okay, we did it. How did we do? Yeah, all right. Questions, thoughts, concerns, commiseration? Yes?
I have exactly the same scenario as you with traders. I work with stock traders. And
oh, okay.
Traders.
You know.
No, complete, ADD, they have no...
Oh, God, yeah.
But how do you avoid the user isn't always right problem, right?
Oh, yeah. This is a great question.
The hypersensitive car.
The user is not always right, okay? That's certainly true, okay? The real problem in most development circles is that no one's paying attention to the user, right? So if you're paying attention to the user at all, you will find, in some cases, they're going to tell you stuff, and you're like, there's no way we're doing it like that. That's never going to happen. That's not a thing, okay? They'll say, what I want is for you to put a drop-down box over here and does this, and all they're telling you is the thing they want personally. And it'd be like, I don't know, it'd be like you have a plumber come over to your house. Are you really going to say, you know, they're working on your pipes, and do you really go over and say, are you going to do it like that? Why don't you move it there and there? And you don't know. So I get it. Neither do users. But they do know certain things. They know what they hate. They're very good at understanding what they hate, as are we all. They know what gets in their way. They know what workarounds they're producing. So you ask them those things, and then it's our job, in theory, as a development and UX team together, to say, what does it mean, what they said? They said there's too many clicks, but what they're really saying is that it's hard to find. You know, let's try to do this and test it again, and then see if they say the same thing. All right? They don't know how to fix it. So you're right. The user is not always correct, and stakeholders are almost never correct, by the way. It's true, right? In fact, stakeholders in general, they frequently don't even know who their users actually are. They think they do, and they think that's me, the stakeholder. Okay, did that help a little bit? You know, but when we looked at people in the trading scenario, this is energy trading, it was just a lot of observation to see how they communicated with other people, you know, yelling across the room, right? Stuff like that. And what that meant for the interface, what different things we had to do to the interface to make it efficient. They couldn't tell us how to make the interface. No way.
They had a lot of muscle memory from the old system.
Oh, God, yeah. Right, they have legacy system muscle memory, and that's really hard to break, so you need to understand that when you're making things. You have to fit what they do. So that's why everything we do has to be sort of like, it's keyboard compliant, has to evoke all the old sort of shortcuts, right? Even if you make something better, people will hate it at first. It's okay, that's normal. You know, people don't like change. But if you did it right, they'll come around. Other questions? Anything else? All right, I'll hang out. Yes?
I was going to ask, in the cases when the customer, your user, doesn't know what they want,
Yeah.
if it's not possible to do an observation session, what other kind of techniques?
So you mean if they don't know you're starting something new?
Say replacing an existing system that is kind of Excel spreadsheet based.
Okay, great, yeah. What we typically do there is a combination of things. We usually skew toward observation first because we just want to know things. But you could do exercises with them to figure out how they do their work. So that's an entirely different thing. We could have done a talk on that. We want to do like, what is your workflow? What is the journey of your work? And ask about that. Don't ask about the software. And you say, well, how do you do your work? In a typical day, what does it look like? How do you go from A to, I guess I should say Z here, right? And then how do you currently use the software to do that? Where is that software failing you, right? And so that's a little bit of a combination. That's a little bit of interview stuff like this. And that would have been, if I had 3 things, that would have been the 3rd thing. But I was trying to give you just the basics. Observation is where I would start no matter what. This happens all the time. No one knows what they want. They know what they hate. And they hate using the old apps they're using. They hate it. I mean, we encounter this all the time when we have to redesign stuff. People are they hate it, and they've simply refused to use it. And so it was a waste of money and time. And then we say, no, we're going to make it right. And you know what their first response is? Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead, make it. It's going to suck again. That's basically how people think. Remember? Because they've been burned before. So if you're doing these sort of techniques, it will be different this time.
So we said one where we've replaced an old Excel-based process, but we were 3rd attempt at it to replace it.
That's so common. I'm working on a project right now, big project. It's at least the 2nd attempt. And when we talked with the users early on, because we did some of this interview stuff as well as observation, that was just complete. They weren't even angry anymore. They were jaded, and they just felt like, okay, I'll talk to you, but for what good that'll do. That's where they're at.
Was it useful to talk through the previous failed attempts as well?
Yes, but we didn't dwell on that because all it did was remind them how bad it was and exacerbate their expectation that it will be so again. So we tended to say, we know you got to tell us about why it's failing, but let's focus on where we're going. It's hard because the only thing that fixes that is success. Absolutely nothing else fixes that. It would be like if you're in a relationship and you've destroyed trust. There's only one way to get it back. This is what I would tell my kids the whole time. I would say, well, you know, trust is like climbing up a mountain. If you slip and fall, you're going down, you're going far, and you're going fast. And you can get back up again, but this could be hard. And that's what it's like with what you're doing. Yes, Danny?
what are your thoughts about really digitalizing everything, like your mother, 80 years old? I think, what do you think is a great way that we really are digitalizing everything?
I think we have no choice. I think everything will become more and more digital, more and more mobile. We're there. Honestly, people like my mom, and again, she's 80, she will resist that, and there's still like old things, analog things she can do. But as people of her generation pass away, a lot of those things they do will also go away.
But that's the problem, because that's my biggest concern, because those people from that age will go away, but the thing is there are also people from way younger ages, like our ages, and even that's different, with severe disabilities who will be excluded in society. Because those people have the same maybe, or nearly the same, not exactly the same, but in that range of problems that, let's say, your mother had, but it will not be cured, it will not be fixed, and they will need to live, let's say, 50, 60, 70 years.
I think that that's sort of like an issue that I segment out into basically raw accessibility, right? We should be building things that have certain levels of proper compliance. You're probably getting that more and more now in UK and EU, where you'll get WCAG requirements, which have been in the United States for a while now. AA is what we're after. Yeah, so there's a whole realm of issues around making something proper and great for people, for sure. But as far as things, becoming, we're gonna, at some point, we're gonna keep fixing legacy software, and then there'll be nothing else to fix someday, and then we'll be fixing the stuff we made today. Or maybe AI does it for us, I don't know. I didn't go to that talk, so it's possible. Okay, let me let y'all go. I really appreciate you being here. It's an honor to talk with you on this Friday afternoon. If you have more stuff to talk about, just come on up or find me. I'm the guy with two different shoes. I'm very easy to find. Or you can find me online, and we talk through any issue or problem you want to talk through. Right? Thank you.